Hi, welcome. I'm Pablo Ortiz. I'm Innovation Manager at Erasmus X. And you are?
I'm Rowan Bijkhuigen, Transfer Coordinator at Erasmus University, and one of the initiators of the ACE app we're going to talk about today, right, Pablo?
Yes, exciting.
What
Well,
is the
nice.
ACE app? Tell me.
Well, the ASAP is this initial solution that we found for bringing soft skills into education. So there's many courses, many areas in the education that prioritize hard skills or the core concept of the courses. But it's very important to understand that students also need to train their communication skills.
Yeah, because skills are not only important for education. In your professional life, you will also need skills. And I think we're not preparing all students in the right way to make sure that they can use the skills in their professional lives as well.
Yeah.
So I think with the app, we help high school students and students in university or within the University of Applied Sciences to learn the skills to transfer smoothly to the next phase. So from high school to university, for instance, and from university to their professional career. So we're focusing on personal skills, social skills, and study skills because we think those domains contain the skills they really need to succeed in life.
Yeah. And it has been confirmed by a good group of associations between secondary education and higher education, right?
Yeah, definitely. It was really fun to work with all the stakeholders who contributed to make sure the app fulfills the needs of our future generation. And of course, it's an app because...
And I could also use the app. I could improve many of my skills, however.
Me too, definitely, still, even within my professional career. Yeah, so I think the app will help students to make sure they know what a skill is, how they can learn it, and how they can implement it in their own lives. And I think it's really fun that we came up with an app that's context-free, which means the skill is also applicable to high school students, but also in your professional career, because we learn them how a skill is used in your life. So not in this specific topic in math or economics, for instance, but way broader than that.
Yeah. One of the cool things that I've also come to realize with the app is that it also offers room for building a skill set. For instance, I was never really good at math, but along the way, as I was becoming a professional, I also got to have a good understanding of computational thinking. And I decided along the way to add that to my skill set. So it's really good to understand that, in education, we decide also how to shape ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. And also make sure that we understand what skills we are using. Because a lot of times students have the feeling they need to learn something from bottom up and from the start, actually. But they already have so many experiences and learned so many things that they can use in building a skill way more broad and in depth, actually. So I think that's also good that we show students to transfer within different educational systems. That presentation skills on high school is the same as a presentation skill in university or later in life.
Yeah, indeed. So we've covered indeed why did the app came to be as the situation of need. We've covered as well our role. Why do you do what you do in this project?
Well, I do what I do in this project because I really like to help students with a soft landing. We know that transitioning into higher education is stressful for a lot of students because there are so many new things they need to learn. And I really believe skills can be the key of making it more easy for them. So that was my first thing that came to mind when we started this project. How can we make sure that we learn the future generation the skills they need to make sure that the transition is more smooth?
Yeah, it sounds. I must echo that, and to be honest, I also like the promise that the project has as well as to be able to roll this out in different educational institutions. For me, it's really like that tale of Moby Dick, where hunting that big white whale. It's very exciting, and it has been very promising. And to that extent, having the opportunity to talk with students about their needs during education is one thing. and then also having to talk with educators as to understand their educators' important role in this whole hurdle is also another thing.
Yeah, definitely. That was something I really appreciated during this project, because my gut feeling said like, hey, we need to do something with skills because they become more and more important nowadays. Well, the scientific research we did on it only made sure that I wanted to do this more. And then we got to talk to so many different people, from high school students to university students to the students of universities of applied sciences and all their teachers. And it only taught me that skills are so important, and we need to speak the same language to make sure that we have the same common ground to develop ourselves.
Yeah, and that's a challenge of itself, getting a same language while collaborating with students, collaborating with educators, really having an understanding of what skills are we referring to. That's really in itself a goal that we're achieving with this app, as unifying all of this.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. How did ACE come to be? We started with user research, for sure, with scientific research, and then what did we do again? You're the project lead, so you know it from the start.
On the spot. So that was the original idea that we had from the previous app, the ACE Yourself studies. However, for this project, we focused into bridging the gap from secondary education to higher education, but we didn't specifically know how. And that's something that we got to understand via the interviews that we did with students from different education stages, and also with teachers. And based on this input that we got and their situations of need, their wishes, their wants, we got to shape an app that would cater to their expectations. And at this point, seeing the whole journey that he has taken and the opportunity that we had to pilot the app in your program, for which I'm very grateful, it was very rewarding to get the impression of the students and to really understand that it has already helped around 650 students in welcoming them to higher education in the EUR, Erasmus University of Rotterdam.
Yeah, because we did a pilot in the pre-academic program. That's a summer school for starting students at Erasmus University. And this is a summer school mainly focused on skills, because we know skills are very, very important. So it's all about skills. And what I thought was really interesting to learn from this pilot is that people told us that it was really interesting to read what a skill is and how you can develop a skill, because we mostly assume you practice a skill. Yeah. For instance, collaboration is, I think, the most made mistake. Let's do a project, let's work together, and then we call it samenwerken, or collaboration in English. And we never learn people how to collaborate efficiently and how to make sure that we combine the forces to make the work more easy and to get the best out of it. And I think what the students learned me most is they appreciated the fact that we teach them how to collaborate, for instance, or how to do something, to improve your skill set.
Yeah, which we can always use in all of our career. However,
definitely,
it's like lifelong learning of skills, and
for sure. So Pablo, could you sketch a timeline from the ACE app? When did we start, and what's next?
Yeah, well, great. I mean, considering indeed that we recently piloted a prototype of the app in the pre-academic program, and we got really nice results coming from the students and from part of the scientific research we had. We were at a moment where we're going to get a developed app. We've been, in the past 6 months, developing the app together with a party of developers, and we're going to get it handed to us in the coming week. And that's going to be an important moment, because from the moment that we get the app, we're going to review the app, we're going to test further. We have already some test sessions with students. We already did some pilots as well as how would the implementation look like with educators. So recently we went to one of the institutions that is involved in the stakeholders group, and we were able to talk with their educators, so we learned a lot there. And now we're entering a moment where we need to make sure that the app is viable and sustainable for everyone involved, also for the Erasmus University, we need to make sure that all instructions on how to implement the app in different education context is clarified.
So when do you think the app is ready for use for the stakeholders?
Yeah, we're envisioning that in this moment, as we get the app handed to us, we can set up part of the content that we have been developing in the app for the stakeholders, for an initial group of stakeholders to start exploring the app and get feedback from it.
Yeah, so we're going to do pilots with other stakeholders as well to make sure that it's not only tailored to the needs of our own Erasmus University students, but also to the needs of high school students and maybe applied science, University of Applied Sciences students, to make sure that the app has everything it has to be.
Or fully professional people like myself. That's, it's awkward in communication.
Yeah. No, you're totally doing fine. No awkwardness there. Maybe I need to do the English.
Let's do it. Samenwerken communication. Let's do this. So indeed, and that's a bit of like the process, simply because we need to make sure that we don't just hand over an app. It is an implementation process. Yeah. And we need to make sure that it's also sustainable for the upcoming years for everyone. So that's where we're entering right now. A moment to revalue the app in an ecosystem of value. So that's going to be working on our side. Yeah. And that's going to be an important step to take before we implement the app in different curricula for the next academic year.
Yeah, because that is our main goal, of course, to make sure that educational institutions from all around the country can use the app, and even way broader than that.
Way broader, beyond.
We also make an English version. Infinity. So Europe and the world, here we come.
Yeah, well, that's also another aspect of the content that we've been developing, because the content, we're going to make sure that it can also be reframed for secondary education, and that it also covers at least Dutch and English. So we're still in that process. We do receive the app soon, but we still need to make it, make a good framework for it to grow properly. And we need the involvement of the stakeholders for that, precisely because we need to learn about the context of implementation.
And if people are watching this right now and want to be a stakeholder, but are not a stakeholder yet, is that possible? Can they still join?
That's a great leadway for why should stakeholders join?
Well, I think stakeholders can join because it's a really cool, new, innovative project to work on. We're really doing something fresh, something new, something that doesn't really exist yet. And I think that's really interesting to work on that together because you learn a lot from it. And it's going to be a really cool app, I think. So yeah, for stakeholders, it's cool to join to make sure that your educational needs will be met as well, because we can tailor it, of course, to the needs of the different kind of institutions who work with us and make sure that we can fit the app in your own curriculum the way you want it to. So I think it's really important for a stakeholder to join. And I think from my perspective, we could always look for more stakeholders who will be willing to work with us, because the more the merrier, I would say. And the better it is to make sure we all speak the same skill language within the Netherlands.
Yeah, and something to add on that as well is we give an open invitation for stakeholders to join, and it is important that they also participate in the implementation of this app in their own context, considering that they are kings of their castle. So we cannot...
Kings of their castle, like it.
Yeah, or queens. However, indeed, it's going to be important that we can align with your technical infrastructure, but also your educational structure, and that we also give an assessment towards how would the app be better implemented in your field of operations.
Nice call to action you do in the camera, and we sure can help you with that.
We want you. I mean, because we have started with a pool of initial stakeholders, and we do, however, have a group of paying stakeholders that have been able to support the development of the app. And for the definition of this phase where we're at right now, it's precisely important to indeed make a clear understanding of what does it entail to participate in this project. and making sure that it is sustainable and viable for everyone involved in it. So that's precisely the name of this phase of post-production of the app, where we need to give room for new stakeholders to join in and put it in a roadmap. When do they want the application to start rolling out in their institutions? But that they also work together with us, because we need their expertise, your expertise.
Yeah, and I also think the more high schools and the more higher education institution will work with this app, the more smoother the transition will be. Because of course the transition from this region to another region where they don't work with the app yet is still a hard transition. So my ambition is that the most educational systems are going to be working with this app. What do you envision for the app? Where's ACE in 2030?
Well, if we take it like that, I'm going to bring the app to Colombia.
That's where you're from, right?
Well, yeah, yes. By the way, I am Colombian. But I mean, with this, to be more specific, we do see that it can be applicable for many institutions, and secondary education, higher education. And we really need to understand that the app can be explored autonomously by a teacher or by a student. But following research that we've done with on field, and really our understanding of how it usually works better, it's if the app is embedded in the definition of a curriculum or a program.
Yeah, so for instance, if a student needs to make a presentation, you can use your own content from your curriculum and say, hey, use the app to make sure that you are making great slides for your presentation, know how to stand, know how to speak, know how to use your breath, for instance. So the connection between the stuff they already need to do and the how and why we teach them in the app, I think that's really, the USP from this app.
Yeah, indeed. And it really is on just sort of like creating a situation of use of the app, because we cannot rely entirely on the autonomy and the serendipity of someone stumbling with the app. It really needs to be taken initially on a proactive level. And that's where perhaps a vision of 2030 would be that the use of the app becomes way more organic for students of that generation, because it has been implemented so subtly into their curriculum that they're just, being the best communicators, collaborators, summary makers.
Yeah, because we know in the future skills are going to be valued more and more.
Yeah.
Because knowledge is findable. We have AI, we have Google, we have all kind of stuff where you can find knowledge. But skills is something you really need to learn. So I think if we make sure that in 2030 all the students know how to use the skills that are embedded in the app, we have a better world.
Yeah, well, definitely, indeed.
But that's also something I think the app can help with, because coping and resilience are also in the app. How do you cope with a pressuring environment at university or at work or at some other place? So it's not only to be succeeding in your professional life, but also in your personal life, to cope better, to make sure you can network, to have clear goals. All that kind of skills are in the app, which I think is great.
Yeah, indeed. So considering the app is going to be a tool for education, what would be your 3 tips for institutions and teaching staff and students, for that matter, on how to use the app? Now, let's keep it as institutions and teaching staff.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really important to consider why are you teaching what you are teaching and what skills do you need for it. So what does a professional in your career is going to be needing, and which skills from our app can contribute to make sure you succeed in exactly that. So the why is step 1. Then select some skills you think could be helpful with make sure that your goal is going to happen. And thirdly, think about what assignments you can think of that's going to be helpful to connect it to the app. So it's always a context-rich assignment that people are making. Because I think that's really help connecting it to the real world and make sure we have some transfer there. So they know what I've learned in this situation is also applicable in another situation.
Yeah, and I agree to that on the extent of if you are going to be using the app, you better be ready to reevaluate the course and the material that you're giving to the students, because it would be a way to rediscover a bit the purpose of your course, the purpose of your program, and align with important life skills that the students will have, so that you indeed shape and help them shape their skill set, but that you also provide an example of what a skill set would align with their professional future in that particular field. And that's why the involvement, the active involvement of stakeholders would be very important, stakeholders and educators.
I also think that education will benefit from the use of the app as well a lot, because when you teach a skill in one course or subject, and they will also use that skill set within another subject or course, you don't need to start all over again. You can start where other teachers left off and build on a skills framework in a way that makes sense.
One of the things that also come usually when we are exploring the app and when we're talking with different teachers and students is the comparisons that we have received, right? As to say, oh, but is it like a new Canvas, a new Osiris, a new Schoola? And for that matter, I think it's very important to explain the extent of value and impact that we want to give for this app.
The app is actually kind of a skill coach, which you can implement in your own curriculum that already exists.
Yeah.
And don't need to change that many, but you only need to think about, hey, what content needs which skill and where do we connect the dots?
Yeah, and for a skill coach, the app is going to be there for the students during their moment of studying or to process some of the course content, but at no level we're going to have the app act as a replacement for Osiris. We don't want necessarily that the students deliver their assignments via the app. We're also building the app on the most privacy and security, data privacy and security matters at most, simply because it really is going to be a coach that is not going to require any particular data from the student.
No, and the student decides what they want to share, right? They don't upload their assignments. It's really a coach or an assistant who guides them through the assignments. And the work they need to hand in to the teacher, that's on the teacher's side, and that's not in the app.
Yeah, and we have these apps that provide all of this dashboard for the student to fully operate there and deliver their assignments and whatnot. Our app is going to be doing that one thing good, which is really helping the students train their skills better in the process of their education. It's not going to be the portal where students are going to be storing their material or delivering their material. It's going to be there next to them on supporting the process on how they build a skill set.
Yeah, and the implementation can be teacher implemented, which means that the teacher select which skills are important and what are we going to work on, but could also be based on the needs of students because they can select which skills do I want to practice and make sure that they have their own learning route.
Yeah. Great. So that's the Ace Yourself app, indeed.
I get more and more enthusiastic now.
The coach I never had when I was learning French history.
Yeah, the coach I never had. Yeah, that is the app is. And I'm really proud of that.
Nice.
Thank you for working with you, Pablo.
Thanks. Good meeting you. Finally.
Finally. You badass.
Nice. Well, thanks for being here in this gezellig meeting. It was a pleasure also talking with Rowan. As we have collaborated for a while, but this really brings a lot of each other's perspective into this. So you have been witness of something special today. And I wish you all the best. Feel free to also reach out, considering that we are also making an appeal to stakeholders that want to give a better structure for the training of soft skills in their education. Reach us. And thanks again, Ron.
Thank you. Hope to see you soon.
Good stuff. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.